On November 5, Archangel Michael placed distance between you and someone whose presence was dimming your spirit. That separation was protection. My beloved soul of light, listen carefully, for what I am about to reveal carries the sound of divine protection echoing through your destiny. On November 5, a shift happened in the spiritual realm. It wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It was Archangel Michael himself who stepped in, sword of light drawn, to separate you from someone whose energy had begun to cloud your inner radiance. At distance you felt its silence that suddenly fell between you and them. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Heaven saw what you couldn't see. Michael saw the way their presence was quietly dimming your spirit, draining your focus, and bending your path away from the light. So he moved it, swiftly, mercifully, to protect what was sacred inside you. You might have wondered why everything changed so suddenly, why their messages stopped, why the bond weakened, or why it felt like they were fading into the background of your life. But Archangel Michael whispers, this separation was never punishment. It was preservation. You were being pulled out of emotional confusion and placed into spiritual clarity. The energy around you is being cleansed, purified, recalibrated. That person was sent as a lesson, not as a lifetime companion. And once their lesson was complete, Michael stepped in and drew a holy boundary line, saying, no further. Because heaven never allows what is meant to destroy your light to linger too long in your atmosphere. Feel that release in your heart right now, that subtle relief you didn't understand before. It's your soul breathing again. It's your divine path being restored. You are walking lighter because Michael removed a hidden burden you couldn't name. Stay close now, because in just a moment, I will tell you why this separation will soon lead you into a destiny connection, one that glows with divine alignment. You're going to realize this distance wasn't loss. It was divine setup for something sacred. Before you move forward, type I am protected by light in the comments if this message is speaking to your soul. Blessing code 1444 is now released. May the light of Archangel Michael shield your path in full glory. Hold on, what's coming next will show you how Michael's hand is still guiding your steps, even now. Beloved seeker of truth, there are moments when heaven moves quietly, and we misinterpret the silence as abandonment. But in truth, silence is often the sound of divine warfare being fought on your behalf. On that sacred day, November 5, Archangel Michael stood between you and an energy that no longer resonated with your growth. You might have felt confusion, maybe even grief, but heaven saw contamination creeping into your purpose. Michael saw the slow dimming of your fire, the draining of your joy, and he intervened to preserve what still burns bright within you. You see, when God's plans for you begin to unfold, not everyone can walk beside you. Some people are permitted to enter only for a season, to awaken a part of your spirit, and then the divine hand pulls them away when their purpose in your life has been fulfilled. Michael's sword is not merely a weapon. It is a divider of truth and illusion. He cuts through attachments that disguise themselves as love, friendships that wear the mask of loyalty but whisper doubt into your purpose. You may have thought you lost someone valuable, but heaven removed someone harmful. If you pay attention, you will sense the shift that followed. Your mind became quieter, your energy lighter. Things that used to confuse you started to make sense again. That was not a coincidence. That was divine recalibration. When Archangel Michael removes a person, he does not leave an empty space. He fills it with clarity. The silence that once felt heavy will soon echo with divine revelation. And here lies the mystery. That person's exit opened a spiritual gateway for new alliances to enter your life. God is preparing connections that will not compete with your light but will complement it. These souls will recognize your calling instead of resisting it. They will speak life where others spoke doubt. Every separation under heaven has a corresponding replacement. When Michael removes, heaven replaces with purpose. Do not let nostalgia deceive you into chasing what heaven has already dismissed. You cannot heal by returning to what hurt your growth. What's coming next will reveal the evidence of divine timing. You will begin to notice messages, numbers, and signs confirming that you are now walking under new protection. The separation was not the end. It was the opening act of restoration. Before we move further, type "I walk under divine protection" in the comments if your heart resonates with this revelation. Blessing code 2299 is now active. The light around you is being fortified. Stay with me now. The next revelation will expose what Archangel Michael saw in that person's spirit that you could not yet perceive. It will change how you see everything. Chosen vessel of light, listen closely now, because this is where the veil begins to lift. The truth you are about to hear may shake your understanding, but it will also set you free. Archangel Michael did not separate you from that person out of anger or judgment. He did it out of mercy. What you could not see with your physical eyes, heaven saw in full view. There were hidden motives, unspoken intentions, and subtle spiritual imbalances that were quietly affecting your destiny. Their words sounded kind, but their spirit carried interference. Their presence was not evil in appearance, but misaligned in vibration. When Michael looked upon your path, he saw that if this connection continued, your spiritual frequency would have been pulled downward. The light you carry, that divine spark within you, began to flicker because their energy began to drain it. And when heaven detects that a chosen one's light is dimming, Michael responds instantly. His sword, burning with celestial fire, cut through the invisible cords that tied your soul to confusion. What felt like rejection was actually divine redirection. What looked like an ending was an act of spiritual surgery, clean, precise, and necessary. There were things being whispered behind your back that you were not meant to hear. There were intentions that wore the disguise of affection, but their root was insecurity. You were pouring light into a vessel that was leaking. Archangel Michael intervened so that you could stop exhausting your energy on what was never going to bear fruit. He saw your prayers, your tears, your endless effort to make it work, and he stepped in to protect your purpose from depletion. You were not abandoned. You were rescued. Heaven removed what would have delayed you so that your next chapter could begin on schedule. This is why you've been feeling lighter, freer, even if you can't explain it. The spiritual fog has started to lift because the interference had been removed. In the coming days, you will notice how peace has quietly taken the place of chaos. That is the evidence of Michael's presence. Now hear this clearly. Every time God removes a person, he makes room for divine alignment. Someone is being prepared to enter your life whose spirit will not compete with your light but will multiply. This connection will not drain you. It will water your purpose. This is why you had to be separated, because your destiny cannot be built on uneven foundations. If this message has stirred your spirit, take a moment to like, share, and comment your confirmation below. Let others who need this revelation find it through you. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel, because each message here is a divine appointment sent to strengthen your journey under heaven's watch. Type "I am chosen" and protected in the comments if this resonates with your soul. Blessing code 3111 is now activated. May divine light surround your steps with clarity and peace. Now, before we move deeper into what happens next, listen carefully. This is not the end of your revelation. What comes next will unveil how this separation unlocked your spiritual acceleration and opened a prophetic gate in your life. Beloved one, as this word touches your heart, remember, you are not just watching a video, you are part of a divine mission. Every seed you sow here allows the Word of God to reach hearts across nations. When you give, you are helping light pierce through darkness. The oil flows wherever faith is poured out, and right now, heaven is opening doors for those who stand with this mission. As it is written, he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. I invite you, not as a request, but as a divine prompting, to sow into this light. You can support this mission through Super Thanks, channel membership, or directly through PayPal, whose link is in the description. Your act of faith will not go unnoticed. Heaven records every seed of obedience. The moment you give, may your gift return multiplied, overflowing like rivers of living water. Precious soul of divine purpose, lean in, for this is the moment when revelation becomes reality. Archangel Michael did not simply cut off a connection. He restructured your spiritual atmosphere. When heaven acts, nothing happens halfway. Everything in your life that was once entangled with confusion has now been set in order. The separation you experienced on November 5 wasn't just a personal event. It was a divine recalibration, a holy reset meant to realign your life to the higher frequency of your calling. There were forces subtly operating through that connection, whispering doubt into your spirit and slowing your spiritual growth. It might not have looked dark, but darkness rarely announces itself. It hides in distraction, comfort, and the slow erosion of clarity. You were beginning to question your purpose, your worth, and even your intuition. Michael saw that your discernment was being clouded, and he moved with heavenly authority. When he raised his sword of light, every unseen energy that sought to drain you scattered like shadows before the dawn. Now, you stand in a new spiritual atmosphere. You may feel an unfamiliar stillness. That's not emptiness. It's purification. Heaven has quieted the noise so that you can hear your divine instructions clearly again. In this season, God is teaching you the beauty of sacred separation, the ability to release what once felt essential, trusting that what remains is what's truly divine. Your spirit is being refined, strengthened, and prepared for what is next. The silence you're experiencing is not punishment. It's preparation. You will soon begin to notice divine confirmations around you. Repeating numbers, sudden moments of peace, prophetic dreams. These are signs that your spirit is syncing back with heaven's frequency. The distance Michael placed between you and that person has created space for angelic downloads and spiritual upgrades. You are being positioned for new assignments, new revelations, and new alignments that will multiply your light instead of draining it. But here's the mystery. Sometimes, before new divine connections appear, heaven allows a season of stillness to test your trust, to see if you can handle solitude without seeking old patterns for comfort. Archangel Michael whispers, "This silence is your sanctuary, not your punishment." In this quiet, heaven is rebuilding your confidence and recharging your spiritual strength. You are stepping into a phase where clarity will come like lightning, quick, bright, undeniable. And when it comes, you will look back at this separation and realize it was the best divine intervention heaven ever performed on your behalf. Every unanswered message, every broken tie, every door that closed was a shield disguised as silence. Before we move further, type "I embrace divine separation" in the comments if your spirit bears witness to this word. Blessing code 4242 is released. May your atmosphere be surrounded with radiant protection, and may your discernment sharpen like a blade of light. Wait for what's next, because the following revelation will expose the hidden reason why this separation was timed so perfectly. You'll see that heaven's timing is not only protective but prophetic. Beloved heart chosen for light, hear this truth. timing in heaven is never accidental. The separation that occurred on November 5 did not happen a moment too soon or too late. Heaven's clocks do not run by human calendars. When the divine order calls for realignment, Archangel Michael moves at the exact second your destiny demands it. That was the moment the spiritual scales tipped in your favor. What seemed like a painful loss was, in fact, the breaking of a chain that had quietly anchored your progress. For months, perhaps even years, your spirit had been signaling that something was off. You felt drained after conversations, uncertain after every interaction, but you kept holding on out of love, habit, or hope that it might change. Yet the more you held on, the more distant you felt from your divine clarity. Heaven watched this unfold and decided it was time for divine intervention. When Michael acts, his movements are swift and irreversible. Once he draws his line of protection, no force can cross it unless heaven permits. That's why this separation felt sudden, because spiritual surgery is never gentle when it's saving your soul. God allowed it to happen precisely when your strength was ready to bear it. Had it come earlier, your heart might not have survived the detachment. Had it come later, the drain might have gone too deep. The timing was the signature of divine mercy. You see, there are moments when God delays deliverance not out of neglect but out of protection. He waits until the moment when your spiritual maturity is strong enough to carry the revelation that follows separation. That's why, in this season, understanding will come first, healing second, and elevation last. Archangel Michael's intervention created a shift not only in your relationships but in your spiritual environment. The people around you, your thoughts, even your emotions are being filtered. Heaven is ensuring that only what aligns with your divine frequency remains. This is why some friendships suddenly feel distant, why old desires no longer appeal to you, and why silence feels more sacred than noise. You are being purified for your next assignment. Heaven's protection does not always arrive as a visible shield. Sometimes it comes disguised as distance. When God removes someone, He often hides the reason until your peace returns. Only then can you look back and see the divine wisdom in what felt like heartbreak. And as your peace begins to expand, revelation will follow. You will soon understand why this particular person had to exit when they did. Their season in your life was complete, and heaven will not allow you to water what it has already uprooted. Remember this. The moment you released what was dimming your light, you stepped into a covenant of restoration. Everything that was delayed because of that connection is now being accelerated. The timing of November 5 marked the spiritual turning point in your destiny. If this revelation speaks deeply to your heart, type "I trust heaven's timing" in the comments. Blessing code 5353 is now activated. May your days unfold in divine rhythm, and may your steps align perfectly with heaven's calendar. And stay close now, because what comes next will reveal the hidden gift that was released into your life the moment Archangel Michael drew that divine line of protection. Beloved spirit of divine destiny, open your heart as you read this, for what you are about to understand will shift the way you view everything that happened. The separation you experienced on November 5 was not merely about removing someone from your life. It was about releasing something within you that was chained to the wrong frequency. Archangel Michael did not just divide two paths. He freed your inner light from a spiritual cage you didn't realize existed. You see, sometimes the greatest gift heaven gives us is not addition, but subtraction. There are connections that look harmless on the surface, but they operate like invisible weights, pulling your soul into spiritual exhaustion. Their energy blends with yours until you can no longer tell which emotions belong to you and which belong to them. Michael saw this entanglement forming around your energy field. Threads of confusion, dependency, and emotional imbalance, and he swung his sword of truth to cut them loose. When that connection broke, something inside you was restored. Your clarity, your discernment, your voice. In that very moment, a new frequency began to radiate from your spirit. Heaven calls it the frequency of restoration. It attracts peace, aligns opportunities, and draws people who vibrate in truth. But here's the mystery. Restoration often begins with isolation. God removes all that distracts so your spirit can recalibrate. This is why lately, solitude feels heavier but also holier. You may feel like you're standing still, but in the unseen, you are expanding. Every moment you spend in silence is forming new roots of strength beneath the soil of your spirit. Archangel Michael is not only the protector of light, but also the restorer of alignment. When he intervenes, his work is both external and internal. He not only shields you from others' interference, but also heals the part of you that attracted that interference in the first place. That's why the season feels like emotional detox, because heaven is cleansing what no longer resonates with the person you are becoming. Do not resist this process. Every tear you shed has watered the soil of your transformation. Every unanswered question is being replaced with divine wisdom. The gift that came from this separation is clarity, not the kind that appears instantly, but the kind that grows quietly, revealing itself day by day. Soon you'll begin to notice you no longer crave the validation you once needed. You'll find yourself at peace with what ended, grateful for what remains, and expectant for what's coming. That's the evidence that healing is taking root. Michael whispers to you now, the one I removed was never meant to walk where you're going. You are stepping into a frequency too high for old energy to survive. Heaven has not taken something from you, it has prepared you for more. This separation created a vacuum, and the divine law says that every void must be filled. What's coming next will fill it with purpose so bright that you will no longer mourn what left. If your soul recognizes this truth, type "I receive the gift of clarity" in the comments. Lesson code 6464 is now activated. May your light grow unshaken, and your heart rest in divine assurance. Stay attentive now, because the next revelation will unveil what was released into your destiny at the exact moment this separation occurred. The shift that started on November 5 is still unfolding, and you're about to see why heaven calls this your turning season. Beloved vessel of divine purpose, take a deep breath and feel the stillness surrounding you, for it carries the echo of something that changed in the unseen realms. On that sacred day, November 5, when Archangel Michael placed divine distance between you and the one who dimmed your spirit, something was released into your atmosphere, a spiritual inheritance, long delayed, now finally permitted to flow. The moment you were freed from that draining connection, the heavens recorded a shift in your timeline. A gate that had been closed by confusion opened in sudden clarity. The chains of emotional fatigue fell off, and your destiny began to breathe again. The separation with the unlocking of a spiritual transaction. When you let go of what heaven never approved, you make room for what heaven had reserved. Archangel Michael's act wasn't simply protection, it was permission. Permission for your gifts to flourish without interference, for your peace to expand without resistance, for your purpose to rise without suppression. That person carried a vibration that restricted your access to higher revelation. Their presence kept you anchored in cycles of distraction, and until that energy was cleared, your spirit couldn't ascend. Heaven's justice demanded release, and Michael's hand delivered it. And now, in this season, you may notice unusual acceleration. Doors opening without effort, ideas flooding your mind, divine confirmations aligning perfectly. That is not coincidence. It is evidence of restored flow. The very energy, that once leaked through imbalance is now returning to you multiplied. Your dreams may feel sharper, your intuition stronger, and your discernment more alive. These are the first signs of a soul realigned with heaven's current. You are no longer leaking energy, you are transmitting it. Every word you speak now carries divine voltage. But understand this, restoration brings responsibility. When heaven restores, it also refines. You must guard your peace with the same vigilance that Michael guards your destiny. Do not reattach yourself to what heaven has already released. The same sword that cut those ties will defend your boundaries if you remain steadfast. Old energies may attempt to return in new disguises, but discernment will tell you the difference. This time, you will not fall back into confusion, because wisdom has taken root in your spirit. You are now walking in the first phase of divine acceleration. Expect divine encounters, people of purpose, connections born in light, opportunities that affirm your true frequency. Heaven will not leave the void empty. It fills every purified space with promise. What once drained you will now empower you, because you have learned to discern by peace, not by appearance. The separation that began on November 5 was not a loss. It was a covenant renewal. Heaven marked that day as your emancipation from invisible control. You have stepped into a timeline where your soul walks unbound, your purpose untouched, and your spirit protected by the flame of Michael's presence. If this message resonates with your heart, type "I receive my divine inheritance" in the comments. Blessing code 7575 is now activated. May the floodgates of your destiny remain open, and may divine restoration manifest without delay. And stay close now, because what comes next will uncover the deeper mystery of what heaven has planned for your path after this divine separation. You're about to learn how this distance is not just protection, but prophecy in motion. Beloved one, consecrated for divine light, the time has come to unveil what Archangel Michael's intervention truly initiated in your destiny. The distance that was created on November 5 was never only about removing someone from your path. It was about unlocking the spiritual prophecy attached to your name. When Michael swung his sword of light, a hidden covenant broke open. The very moment you were separated from the person who dimmed your fire, the heavens signed your life into a season of fulfillment. You may not have seen it with your eyes, but in the spirit, new pathways were carved, roads leading toward divine assignments and divine partnerships. You are now walking through the quiet corridors of transition. The silence you've been feeling lately is not absence. It is incubation. Heaven is preparing to birth something powerful through you, something that could not have survived in the old atmosphere. The distance was the womb of destiny. Everything that left your life was making space for everything you prayed for. And though your emotions may have struggled to understand it, your spirit knew all along that this separation was prophecy in disguise. Archangel Michael stands beside you now, overseeing this transformation. His presence guards your environment so that no familiar energy can sabotage what is being rebuilt. You might notice people trying to reconnect, opportunities resurfacing, or memories attempting to lure you backward. But this time, your discernment is sharper, your peace more precious. The energy of distraction can no longer penetrate your field. Michael whispers to your spirit, you are no longer where they left you. You have risen to the next dimension. The prophetic outcome of that November separation is beginning to manifest. You will soon meet people aligned with your purpose, souls who see you as heaven sees you. You'll be drawn to places that ignite creativity, faith, and vision. And as these divine alignments form, you realize that the old connections had to fall away because they could not carry the weight of your calling. Your old circle operated on survival. Your new circle will operate on destiny, The atmosphere around you is changing frequency. You are being surrounded by light bearers, divine helpers, and protectors sent by God's command. This next chapter will not require you to chase or prove yourself. You will simply attract what is yours by divine law. Michael has cleared the spiritual traffic that once delayed your progress. The fog has lifted, and your steps are being guided toward what is holy, fruitful, and eternal. Everything that tried to confuse you has now become the soil of your testimony. The pain of separation will soon be replaced by the joy of alignment, and you will thank heaven for the distance that once made you weep. Take a moment now, like, share, and comment below if this word resonates with your journey. Let this message travel to every soul who needs to hear that separation can be sacred. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because each message released here is timed perfectly with heaven's calendar. Type "I walk in divine alignment" in the comments as a declaration of faith. Blessing code 8881 is now released over your path. May your spirit rise with strength, may clarity be your constant companion, and may the fire of Michael surround all that you do. Beloved, as you stand in this revelation, understand this: every message released here is part of heaven's assignment to awaken sleeping souls. When you choose to give, you are not helping a platform, you are fueling a divine movement. The word of God travels through your seed like light through glass. Each offering opens another door for truth to reach someone on the edge of giving up. As the scripture declares, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. When you respond, you participate in the fulfillment of that promise. I invite you to sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, whose link is in the description. Do it as a prophetic act, not a donation. Heaven watches the hands that build God's altar. May every seed you release return to you as open heavens, divine favor, and unstoppable restoration. Beloved child of divine truth, take this moment to breathe, because the next layer of this revelation carries deep spiritual significance. On November 5, when Archangel Michael placed distance between you and that person, a ripple was sent across multiple timelines of your destiny. You may have thought it was an ending, but in the spirit realm, it was the beginning of divine positioning. Every step you take now is a step away from deception and a step toward fulfillment. What looked like loss in the natural was actually an exchange in the supernatural. You were being traded out of confusion and ushered into clarity. The separation marked the moment heaven began shifting your atmosphere to align with divine accuracy. You may have noticed that since that day, things that once fascinated you no longer hold your attention. That's because your spirit is maturing. Michael's intervention rewired the desires of your soul, aligning them with heaven's blueprint. The people and opportunities coming your way now will match your new frequency. You won't need to explain yourself or fight to be understood. They will recognize your spirit immediately. When Michael clears the path, what comes next always fits without friction. But this realignment isn't only about outer changes, it's about inner expansion. The separation forced your heart to turn inward, to rediscover who you are when you are not performing for acceptance. That person's absence gave you the sacred space to meet your own spirit again. You are learning that your worth was never tied to who stayed or who left. It was always anchored in the divine assignment over your life. Heaven needed you to remember that your validation comes from light, not from attention. There is a secret reason why this divine separation had to occur exactly now, because heaven is about to trust you with something greater. The energy of dependence had to be broken so you could hold authority. God cannot place the mantle of leadership upon a heart that is still seeking permission to shine. Michael separated you not just to protect you but to prepare you. You are entering a season where your voice will carry influence beyond your imagination. The very thing that once silenced you will now be the reason others find their courage. In the days ahead, be attentive to divine confirmations. You will see the number 1111, hear words repeated in different places, or meet people who speak the exact sentences your spirit has been praying silently. Those are not coincidences. They are divine signals affirming your alignment. Michael is ensuring that your path stays protected as you walk into this new era. You are not moving alone. Heavenly forces are working in synchronization with your every step. The separation with the purification needed before your elevation. You have now entered the corridor of manifestation, where what you once envisioned begins to materialize. It's the season of evidence, where heaven's promises meet earthly results. Every delay is now dissolving under divine timing. If this revelation speaks to your spirit, type "I am ready for divine evidence" in the comments. Blessing code 9393 is now activated. May your obedience attract visible miracles, and may your heart remain anchored in peace as heaven's timing unfolds. Hold steady. The next revelation will show you the moment heaven decided to reward your surrender, and how Michael's separation prepared the throne of your next assignment. Beloved soul walking in divine light, what you are experiencing now is the unfolding of heavenly reward. When Archangel Michael drew that sacred boundary on November 5, he was not only cutting away interference, he was preparing the soil of your destiny for harvest. Separation always precedes elevation. The distance that once felt painful was the divine seed of expansion. Heaven watched as you surrendered what no longer aligned, and in that surrender, a new dimension of blessing was unlocked. Every act of obedience releases divine compensation, and that is what you are stepping into now. You may have noticed that new opportunities have started emerging almost effortlessly. Doors you once struggled to open are now unlocking on their own. People you never imagined connecting with are showing up. That is not coincidence. That is divine orchestration. Michael has cleared the spiritual fog that once surrounded you, and now your energy is magnetic to all that matches your true purpose. You are in a phase where your inner world and outer world are finally aligning. Heaven's light is finding visible expression through you. The person from whom you were separated served as a mirror that reflected your old vibration, the part of you that once accepted less than divine fullness. Once Michael broke that attachment, heaven could promote you into a higher identity. You are not who you were before November 5. You carry more authority, more clarity, more peace. You have been recalibrated for divine command. The spiritual clutter has been replaced by divine order, and now every word you speak carries the frequency of manifestation. You are beginning to notice that your thoughts are manifesting faster, your prayers reaching further, and your heart attracting pure energy. This is the reward of divine separation. But there's something deeper here. When you allowed heaven to take away what wasn't meant for you, you proved that you could be trusted with greater responsibility. Heaven always tests stewardship before granting expansion. The person who left represented a closed chapter, but your response, your faith, your surrender, your silence, became the key that unlocked your next season. Michael stood before the throne and presented your endurance as evidence of readiness. And heaven declared, now they are prepared to receive. That's when the reward began its descent. This is why your atmosphere feels different lately. There's a peace that doesn't depend on external validation. You are no longer reacting to uncertainty. You are resting in divine assurance. This calm is not ordinary. It is spiritual confirmation that heaven has settled your case. Every tear you cried during that separation has become the water nurturing the seed of your next blessing. You didn't lose, you were promoted. Now, your task is simple. Remain in gratitude. The energy of thankfulness will multiply what has begun. Do not look back or wonder about the person who left. Your role ended, and yours is only beginning. You are walking in prophetic fulfillment, and every step from here forward is guided by Michael's light. If this message resonates with your journey, type "I am living my divine promotion" in the comments. Blessing code 1010 is now activated. May your reward manifest swiftly, and may your faith remain unshaken as heaven's promises continue to unfold. Stay with me. The next revelation will unveil what Archangel Michael is preparing you for now that your new chapter has begun, and how this next stage will redefine your understanding of purpose and power. Beloved guardian of sacred purpose, open your spirit, for what you are about to receive is the deeper reason behind the transformation that began on November 5. The separation that Archangel Michael initiated was not just a rescue, it was a recruitment. Heaven was not simply saving you from something, it was enlisting you for something. What you have endured, the pain you processed, the silence you embraced, all of it had been spiritual training for your next assignment. The distance that once broke your heart has now built your strength. You were not abandoned. You were refined for leadership. Every divine warrior undergoes this season. Michael himself was tested in silence before he was given authority to command legions. The same pattern now unfolds through you. You were separated not because you were weak, but because you were ready. The energy that once surrounded you was too small for your next dimension. That person's presence represented the old version of you, the one who doubted, the one who overgave, the one who tolerated imbalance. Heaven had to remove that reflection so you could finally see who you've become. Since that moment, a transformation has been happening quietly within you. You might not even realize how much your perspective has shifted. The fear that once ruled your decisions has dissolved. The emotional dependency that once held you captive has vanished. You have grown into a vessel that understands peace as power. You no longer chase answers, you embody them. Archangel Michael has not only defended you, he has disciplined your spirit, teaching you the rhythm of divine stillness. That is the mark of those chosen to carry light. Now heaven is ready to use you as a voice of revelation for others walking the same path. You will speak words that unlock healing, offer comfort, and carry authority. The pain you endured was not wasted. It became your anointing. Every night you spent in tears, heaven was inscribing wisdom into your soul. You are now being positioned as a light bearer in your circle, one who walks with silent confidence, one whose presence shifts atmospheres. That's why your energy feels heavier, calmer, stronger. The weight of purpose has settled upon you. From this point forward, you will notice that divine instructions will come more frequently. You'll hear Michael's guidance in quiet thoughts, in scripture verses that seem to echo your situation, in signs that appear too specific to ignore. Heaven has upgraded your sensitivity. The world around you might still see the same face, but the spiritual realm recognizes your new authority. You carry the mantle of someone who survived divine separation and came out luminous. Do not question why some people no longer relate to you. Your frequency has changed. The conversations that once entertained you now feel hollow because your spirit has outgrown them. This is the cost of elevation, and also its glory. You are walking proof that distance can become destiny, and endings can become beginnings. Archangel Michael whispers now, stand tall. You are no longer the protected, you are the protector. If your heart bears witness to this truth, type "I am ready for my divine assignment" in the comments. Blessing code 1117 is now released. May your strength be sealed in divine purpose, and may your voice awaken those still trapped in confusion. And stay close, for the final revelation will unfold next. It will show you the full circle of this message, why heaven chose November 5 for your release, and how this prophetic separation has crowned your destiny forever. Beloved flame of divine remembrance, take this final revelation as the seal of everything heaven has done since November 5. The date was not random. It was written in your soul's blueprint before you ever walked this earth. Heaven marked it as the day your destiny would pivot, the day Archangel Michael would draw the sacred line between what you once were and what you were called to become. Every experience, every ache, every confusion that surrounded that moment was part of the orchestration. You were being ushered from shadow into clarity, from attachment into alignment. What felt like a breaking was actually your awakening. Michael did not simply remove someone from your life. He restored your original frequency, the sound of your soul that had been muffled by wrong connections. His sword was not swung in anger but in precision, cutting through every lie that told you love meant endurance of a balance. Heaven knew your heart had grown weary, yet still faithful, and that faith drew divine attention. Your name was spoken in the courts of heaven, and Michael was dispatched with one assignment: to protect your light and reposition your destiny. That separation became your spiritual rebirth. Now look around your life. The air feels different. Peace lingers longer. Ideas flow freely. That's because your spirit has returned to its rightful state, whole, guarded, luminous. You are no longer who you were before that day. You are who heaven always knew you could be. This final stage of your transformation is the establishment of purpose. Everything that left made room for everything you are about to receive. Heaven's timing has matured your faith. You have been anointed for influence, not by human recognition but by divine appointment. You are now stepping into your era of evidence, where your light will lead others out of darkness. In the months ahead, Archangel Michael will continue to walk beside you. He will send confirmation through repeated signs: a sudden warmth on your right side, a flicker of light at the corner of your eye, the sound of your name whispered when you are alone. These are reminders that you are still covered, still chosen, still guided. Every challenge that appears now will come not to break you, but to train your authority. You are no longer walking under protection alone. You are walking in partnership with the divine. This is your completion, your closure, and your commission. Heaven did not separate you just to comfort you. It separated you to crown you. And as you carry this new anointing forward, your presence will begin to awaken others to their own moment of separation, their own moment of freedom. This is how heaven multiplies light, through the ones who refuse to remain dimmed. If this final revelation has stirred your heart, take a moment to like, share, and comment below. Let this message reach every soul standing on the edge of their divine turning point. Subscribe to stay within this prophetic current, because every word released here carries a fragment of heaven's timing. Now type "I am crowned in light" in the comments as your declaration of completion. Blessing code 1212 is now released. May divine radiance surround you, and may Archangel Michael's flame continue to guide your every step with strength, clarity, and unshakable peace. Beloved, as this final word settles into your spirit, remember, this mission is not about a channel, it is about a calling. When you choose to sow into this work, you are igniting light in countless hearts across nations. Every seed given here becomes spiritual oil that fuels the fire of revelation. Scripture declares, "The generous will prosper, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." As I extend this invitation, know that it is not a request, it is a prophetic opportunity. Stand with this movement through super thanks, channel membership, or a PayPal offering found in the description below. Your giving is not a transaction. It is an act of partnership with heaven's agenda. The moment you release your gift, may open heavens respond. May blessings overflow, and may the fire of Michael rest upon your household forever.